Welcome to the Growth Mode podcast, where real conversations fuel real business growth. Hosted by Nina Labbe, media strategist with Salem Surround. Get ready to listen, learn, and grow. This is Growth Mode.
Making decisions about care for a loved one is never easy. And for a lot of families, it raises some really big questions. When is the right time to ask for help? What kind of care is actually the right fit? And how do you make sure your loved one is safe, supported, and still able to maintain their independence? Today's conversation is all about helping answer those questions. I'm joined by Jackie Robb, Senior Vice President with Senior Helpers right here in San Antonio, an organization that's helping families navigate in-home care with compassion, dignity, and a personalized approach. We're going to talk about how in-home care really works, how families can recognize when it's time for support, and what it looks like to truly care for both the patient and the family. Jackie, thank you so much for being here.
Well,
I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for reaching out. Feels like it's been forever since I last saw you, so this is fun. Yes, and thank you. And senior care is a huge topic going on right now around the country.
It totally is, and I want to start from the beginning. For those who may not be familiar, can you share what Senior Helpers does and what inspired you to be a part of the organization?
Sure. Well, Senior Helpers here in San Antonio started 10 years ago. It is a franchise from Senior Helpers that started, I believe, in 2002 with two gentlemen who were finding between their friends and them a little bit hard to figure out what to do with their parents or grandparents. So, and that's like most of the home cares that were established back in the day, because there was nothing that they could do. It was either, hey, mom is getting old, she can't live by herself, so let's move her into an assisted living or skilled nursing. Well, mom didn't want to move there. So Senior Helpers, Terry and Bill Hooper, they're the owners here of San Antonio and Corpus Christi, and they had the same thing. They were seeing it. They both had worked in corporate careers, and it was really a passion calling them. Their parents were aging. They were seeing the struggles, and they wanted to find something that they could give back. And so they purchased the franchise here in San Antonio and Corpus later. So we've been around for 10 years. It will be this October, so that's exciting. Senior care just basically came about, the non-medical home care part of it came about because of that need. People, there's so many studies out there stating that people age better in place. Not all of them can stay in place without assistance. So that's where the home care model came in. We're here to help with whatever level of care they need. It can be, when I started in this industry, it'll be 15 years. I can't believe it, in October. It was one of those things where it found me. I had really no idea what home care was. And I was actually doing a radio show here. And I met the director of another home care at this, and she said, hey, I need a salesperson. And that I did marketing. So I fell in love with it because I would meet with families that were so confused on what's the next step. And back then, we did things like we played games. We took them to get their hair done, their nails done. We took one guy, our caregiver was his caddy. And we couldn't say he was a caregiver. He was his caddy. And he would take him to the golf because that's what made that man thrive. But we were able to fill in the gaps. Well, then here we are almost 15 years later, and it's so much more now because people are wanting to stay at home. So they are seeing the need for people to have hands-on care too. And my reason I'm still here is just being able to, I kind of sometimes feel like not the fairy godmother, I guess that's kind of a silly word, but you just come in and you help calm the storm that's going on, because none of us were taught in any school that we went to what to do when our parents age.
That's true.
And or for that when we age. And so that's where I just love being able to help. And I think it reaches to my heart that way.
Oh, I love that. Such a strong point. You know, what drew you personally to the senior care space? I know you said it kind of happened by accident and all that kind of stuff, but what keeps you passionate about it day after day?
Well, you know, I'm the oldest grandchild.
Yeah.
And I always hung out with the great grandmas. I was blessed to meet both great grandmothers, and I was with all my grandparents. And I really love listening to their stories because they can give you so much. And I've always been there. And I remember when my great grandmother, who honestly, as a 22-year-old, when she finally passed, I felt like she almost walked on water because she was, to me, she was wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we had to, prior to her going home, she ended up falling and breaking her hip. Well, before they were telling her she couldn't go back to her house. Now, this was a woman who worked and scraped and did everything to own her own house. And now my parents and her other grandchildren were all saying, no, we need to put you in a skilled nursing, because there wasn't assisted living back then.
Right.
And there wasn't day centers. And both of my parents worked. That was when it touched me. There needs to be a place or some kind of system. And at that point, I was only 13 at that point. But watching her have to give up her home and only be able to take a few of her precious items to the skilled nursing killed me. And so that's what I think is my driving force behind it, so that no person that wants to and can physically, mentally be able to be in their home has to leave it.
Right.
There are places. And if my particular home care isn't the place, I know my competitors, if you will. I get to know them because everybody has a budget. This isn't something that, you know, is free, unfortunately. But that's the catalyst behind me, is just my grandparents.
And that's where the seed was planted,
Yes.
you know, for your passion.
Definitely.
All right, let's talk a little bit about in-home care versus assisted living. How does in-home care differ from assisted living, and how can families determine which is the right fit for their loved one?
Sure. Assisted living, you're going to be in their facility and our community. They like to call it their community. And they're wonderful if you know you want that, and it's good for socialization too, if the person will get out of their room. And the only downside I see to that is you don't get one-on-one care.
Okay.
Now, in home care, you have one caregiver that is going to be with you. Every company out there strives to have the same face come every day, unless it's a 24-hour case, because most of us do 24/7. And then you will have 6 faces because you can't work people to death, right? So you have that. But the assisted living, it has all the activities. I think that probably the biggest thing with that, with assisted living, is you can get some nursing care. You know, they will monitor your meds. They will have a nurse or a doctor come look at you. Where home care, we have to take you to them unless you have home health prescribed. I think the socialization. But a lot of times in home care, we will take them. I have one lady right now that every week we take her twice a week to one of the senior centers where she can do Zumba and water aerobics. So she's getting some of her socialization. She loves to go to libraries. So it really depends on that individual. But those are the biggest things you do in assisted living. It's a little more economical. Because we are per hour, and they have a base price. And then, of course, in assisted living, then it's certain add-ons like laundry and things like that.
Right. Okay. All right. What are some of the early signs that a loved one may need additional support at home?
I think if you notice that mom and dad are forgetting to take their meds, you come in, say you at least are lucky to come in once a week and see mom, but you notice her pill box that you helped set up the week before, there's still a lot of them that are in there. And you say to mom, what happened? Well, they didn't take them.
Yeah.
That's one of them. If you walk in and you notice mom has bruises or dad has bruises, they've probably fallen. They're afraid to tell you they fell.
Yeah.
Or it can be that the neighbor says, we saw dad take a fall on the outside. We helped him up.
Yeah.
Or if you're noticing they're not changing their clothes, maybe they're not showering, because sometimes they're afraid. They know they have a balance issue.
Yeah.
So to get into that tub, that's a step up. And so that's another thing that can be also memory. If you start noticing that they're forgetting things, some simple things like mom was a great cook, but now she doesn't even really know what the stove's for. That happened to me personally. My grandmother was an excellent cook. And one day my grandfather came home and she's standing in front of the stove bawling. And he goes, "What's happened?" And she goes, "I know I should know what this is. And I know I'm being told I should be doing something here. But what is it?" And that was our first sign that she was stepping into the dementia world.
Those are some really good points on what to look out for. Let's shift gears to family education and the emotional side.
Right.
This can be such an emotional decision, for families. How do you help them navigate that process with confidence?
Right. I think we have to, had this conversation last week with a lady whose mother-in-law is passing. And she called me and she started crying. And I'm like, "Well, tell me what's been going on." Well, everything had been dumped on this lady. I hate to say it. A lot of times it is us women that have to make these decisions.
Right.
And she was and she had been a nurse. That was the odd part she felt. Well, I should know how to do all this. Why? Your heart's attached to this person. So we walk them through practical steps of how do we do it. You'll have some people that are very resistant. The families know they need help in the house and they're like, "I don't want someone to come in here." What we try to convey to them is we will never come in and take over. You're still going to be the queen of the house or the king, but we're just going to come alongside of you so that you can stay here safely. And we just have to, we go through it every step by step. The families actually, when we go do what we call an assessment, we sit down and we go through a care plan, and together, if the client is able to, they will sit and participate with it. If the client, I don't want to, then the son or daughter and I will sit there and we will go through step by step. Is it a mobility issue that's happening? If so, would it be helpful for us to walk alongside that person? Or do they physically need to be lifted? Some of the people, they don't even know that their parents cannot push themselves up out of a chair. So then that means we need to do probably a gait belt to help them up. And so it's just talking through the different scenarios. Now, if it starts to be dementia, Alzheimer's, I always refer them to get educated with the Alzheimer's Association. They have fabulous resources here, and we have a chapter right here off of 410. We at Senior Helpers, we do something called Senior Gems, and that's where we categorize what level are they, and how do our caregivers then communicate with them. So that's giving the family more information, because when you mention Alzheimer's, it's a very scary thing. It's a scary word. And I've been able to help families and end stage Alzheimer's where they say, "Tell me, why do I need to visit my mom? She doesn't talk. She doesn't do this." "Okay, well, what did you used to do with your mom?" And this one gentleman said, "Well, I was always in musicals in high school." I said, "Did mom ever come?" "Oh, yeah, she helped me rehearse." I said, "Get some of the music. Go sit with mom. Play the music and see what happens." And this grown man who was like this big bear of a person comes back the next week at the meeting and is crying. I go, "What happened?" "You gave me my mom back." She started tapping her toe and her eyebrows were raising. She was in there. They're in there. They're just trapped in there. And so it gave him some time. So we walk them through the different, depending on what it is that they're needing, we walk them through the different scenarios so that they feel comfortable. And like I tell my families, this is a fluid plan. It's going to change as that person needs change, and you do assessments along the way so that you can see the need.
And there's so many factors to keep in mind. And what a great idea to, let him, open up his mind to, the musical side of things,
Instead of just, I had a woman that was at a senior expo this week. I had a lady come up to me and she goes, "Can you guys do showers?" I said, "Well, yes, we do showers." And she said, my mom has dementia and Alzheimer's. And whenever I want to give her a shower, she just yells and screams at me. I said, because you're her daughter. She still knows she changed your diaper.
Yeah.
And the lady was like taken aback. I said, I'm serious. Your mother sees you as her child, just like my mother would.
Yeah.
And I said, but if we send in a professional caregiver,
right,
they'll listen to that.
Yes.
And the lady just was like, are you sure? And you could tell she was doubting. And I said, trust me. And we'll see.
Right.
So
exactly. And you know.
Yeah, I've seen it time and time. The hardest part is taking keys away from men that want to drive, because that's their, don't take it away.
That is very true. Yeah. That is very true. What are some of the biggest misconceptions families have about in-home care?
Well, I think the biggest thing I hear all the time, the first thing is, how come insurance doesn't pay for it? Because it is private pay or long-term care. If you've been a veteran, aid and attendant benefit will sometimes pay for it if they meet that criteria. I go right back at them and say, I wish I knew. Medicare recently came out with a guide program, but they've made it so strict.
Yes.
It only can help a few people. Okay. So I've been waiting all these years for somebody to realize this is important. Another thing is, all of the news constantly tells you the bad side of home care. Yeah. Well, there could be theft. There could be abuse, neglect. Right. Well, when you hire an agency, a home care agency, we watch over that. We are licensed, all the agencies are licensed by the state of Texas, Health and Human Services. We have to answer that. So we're in constant communication with the caregiver. We have it. So those are the biggest misconceptions. Yeah. We do background checks. I don't know any agencies here in San Antonio that don't do backgrounds, but that's one thing. They want to go private, some of them. Yeah. Private caregivers are great, but I always tell my family, please, if you do it, make sure you get a background check. Make sure your homeowner covers it if she falls. Yeah. Because we cover, agencies will cover background, or will cover their injury if something happens. Right, okay. But that's the misconception, the biggest one I hear. One is they think insurance should pay. Yeah. And two, the other thing too is home health. They think we're home health and we're not. Now, home cares do non-medical. Now, some will have a nurse if you do this other nurse delegation. But for the most part, it's all non-medical. We're there to do everything that they do normally on a day-to-day basis for them and help them.
Gotcha. Okay. So what would you say to a family who's trying to do everything themselves but maybe feeling overwhelmed?
Those are the kind that we always get. Yeah. It is, there's a lot of guilt that goes in with them not being able to take over. So they feel guilty reaching out. And I tell them, let us be your feet and hands so you can be the daughter or the son. Sons and daughters should not have to.
So they can enjoy their
Go back to that role, because as a caregiver, you get burnt out quickly. Yes. They lose their patience with their parents, which they don't want to. So that makes them feel guiltier.
It does.
And with having a little help, if you have, even if you did it twice a week, 4 hours a day, that's going to be such a relief, because that person can do the laundry, that person can prep meals, that person can make sure meds are taken those days, or if mom and dad get a shower, you can just come in and say, I'm here to see you. I brought you some lemon cake or whatever, and be the children that they have always known.
Oh, wow. What a great, strong point that is. All right. So can you share a story? And I know you've already shared a couple.
Sorry.
Can you share a story? We love to hear stories about a client or a family that you worked with that really stayed with you, one that just kind of reminds you why you do what you do.
Yes. We had a gentleman, both him and his wife, on service for many years. And she passed during part of the time. We were able to keep them in their beautiful townhome they had. Yeah. And what was great is the kids lived in California. So they couldn't fly in all the time, but they were so involved in their parents' lives. And we had the same caregivers there during the day. And then once they started to age more and get less and less able to do things in the evening, then we were there overnight. Okay. The gentleman lived to be, I want want to say he lived to be 101.
Wow.
And they were with us the whole time. But this man was so awesome. He was still doing day trading at that age.
Wow.
He was the kindest man. He had we would take him to visit his wife because she ended up with Alzheimer's.
Okay.
She had to be put in a home.
Yes.
And I remember going to do an assessment for him, just a reassessment.
Yeah.
And he said, well, can we sit down and talk about this thing called Alzheimer's? And I said, sure. And he said, I go in there, and he said, it just breaks my heart. I said, I know, but she still knows you or doesn't? And he goes, no, she sort of recognizes me. I said, then you know what? Just keep going.
Yeah.
Even if she gets to where she doesn't really know you, because that helps you and it helps her.
Yeah.
Well, him and I just bonded over that moment. And he was just one of my favorite people. And he had a favorite, one of our favorite caregivers who it was almost like his grandkid. Yeah. And they were together until the end. She was actually there the day he passed away. Oh. But he just, he trusted the process. He'd been always a very strong, independent person, but he knew when his body was starting to fail him and he was starting to fall more that he needed more care. Right. But he's just one of the many over the years that have touched my heart.
I'll bet. Yeah, because you get to know them, so well.
You do. It's definitely a people business. If you don't like people and you don't like seniors, because they can be challenging,
All right, so let's talk about how this works. From day to day. What types of services does Senior Helpers provide? I know you've talked about it already, but and you talked about how you customize the plans for each individual. Is there anything else about that we maybe didn't address earlier?
Well, we can help pay bills, because sometimes they get to the point where they can't pay bills. So we'll help them. Yes. We can take them to grocery stores or we can get the groceries delivered and put them away. Yeah. We can make sure the food is good food that's there, not expired food. Yeah. Some of them tend to, a lot of the kids, a lot of the seniors are kids of depression era. So everything was saved. Right. So we help go through that. Yeah. We can do their laundry. We can we'll actually take them to the church. We just signed a lady up that, we read to them. She's blind. Oh, okay. And she says, I have magazines in my desk, but I can't read them. And my kids, when they come, they don't have time to read them. Yeah. So we have put away some of the time for our caregiver to read her those articles. Yeah. That's fun for them. We can also help them write a book or stories for their grandchildren so that they can have that information when they move on.
Oh, that's such a great point. I didn't even think about that, reading to them when they don't have great eyesight, So, all right. Awesome. What sets Senior Helpers apart from other home care providers in the area?
I think it is the dedication to working with world-renowned Alzheimer's lady, Teepa Snow. She has been instrumental in helping with our Senior GEMS program. Yeah. It helps us to not only teach our caregivers, but to teach our clients, families, what stage is mom or dad going through. Yeah. I also think we have this product called the Life Profile. So we'll go in to do an assessment, and based on answering questions, this program will tell them about how many hours. Now, they're not committed to do those hours. It just tells them if you want to be, very limited risk staying in your home, this is about how many hours we recommend. Okay. They don't always have to, but like I said, it gives them, and then we follow that program. So say they don't let us shower them, say they're good, but we notice that they're having a little more balance issues. Well, when we do a reassessment, we'll go over that again. And if they say, you know what, I did find I was kind of losing my balance. Okay, well, there's a risk. Yeah. Do we need to add another day? Yes. And we do reassessments. Yes. We also do supervisory visits with caregivers. Yeah. Because I can go in and I can talk to you all day. Yeah. And I can say, I know who Nina needs as a caregiver. Right. But that caregiver comes and no, they don't like her. so much. So we'll say, good, we'll switch out. We have caregivers, we can switch them out.
Right.
Because what I like may not be you. I always ask them, do you want someone that talks as much as I do? And they'll say, well, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Yeah. But if you want a talker, I'll find a talker. If you want someone a little more quiet. And so you have to give and take. But we really strive on getting that match right.
Wow, there's so much to think about on this. Wow, I love that. I love that. There's so many things that we take for granted that we don't even think about that's really important.
It is. And you don't, like I tell them, we're coming into your home. You need to be comfortable with someone coming in. Because we know when we first start out, that's a stranger coming to the door. Yeah. And we always make sure we do an introduction so that someone from the office staff is there. We give them senior helpers shirts and name badges so that they can recognize them. That's so important in our community. I did want to bring up one thing and tell me if I'm talking too much. But one thing that is really important when you have extra eyes and ears in the house is all of these scammers that are going around. We had a lady that, not the company I'm with now, but a company before, and our caregiver alerted us, do you know we took her to the bank? And she took out, I don't know how many thousands of dollars in 1 week. And the caregiver said, I'm not comfortable with that. And so I went and talked to the lady, and she said, I'm an educated person. I don't need you to tell me. So she fired us. Oh, my. Okay. So I had reported it to Adult Protective Services because that's my duty. I'm a mandatory reporter. I have to. So I reported it. They said, oh, we'll tell the FBI. Oh, the FBI didn't care. So then 6 months later, she calls and she wants the owner of that company and myself to come. So we went down there. By now, she's gone through all of her money. Oh, gosh. She's not had a shower in 3 weeks, and she had absolutely no food in her house. Oh, no. So I called someone that I knew that was a private caregiver that I had already vetted. I knew she's good as gold. She came and did the cooking. We bought her groceries. She did the cooking, and she did the showering, got the house straightened out. I called back APS and I said, now, is it an emergency enough for you to come in? And they did. Gosh. But home, if you have someone in your home, they can start seeing this pattern. This person was promising this little lonely lady who had no family. Oh, if you give me $2,000, that's getting us closer to me coming and having coffee with you. Gosh, and this person, we don't even know where it was in the world. He was bilking her because she didn't know about WhatsApp, and he did, and she was on WhatsApp. Oh gosh, so that's scary. We can see patterns. We can hopefully keep that from happening. Yeah. But I blamed myself for maybe I came on too strong with her when I said, look, I really think you're being scammed. But she was convinced that she wasn't. And I thought about that often, but I think she was the type that she was just going to believe what she wanted to believe because she was so lonely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing. Absolutely. If you have a caregiver in there, it also helps alleviate some of that loneliness that doesn't make them so vulnerable. Right. All right. Gosh, so many great points, so much to think about. So to the business side of things, what does success look like for senior helpers, like say within the next 12 to 24 months? Well, it is helping more families, that reaching out to more families, letting them know who we are. And like I said, I think earlier, if they don't fit our budget, because we're $28 an hour to start. Not everybody has that, but I know other companies that I would send my parents to, that I could refer them to, right? That I believe in. But we want to help more families. We want to educate people on why it's important for people to remain at home. Yeah. Or if they're in, we can even help people transition to an assisted living, if they've been in their home. Yeah. The other part, we are getting ready I believe by the end of the year, to open up something called Our Town. Yeah. It is going to be the first ever kind of day center for seniors. Okay. It will have all kinds of programs, and it's part of the Senior Helpers family. But Bill Hooper, one of the owners, is going to, him and Terry have bought into that. So we're going to launch that because maybe we can't help them in the home. But during the day, if the family needs to go out, they can drop mom and dad off, and they will have a fulfilled day of activity.
Yes, so exciting.
Yes.
Wow, so much great, valuable educational information that you've shared. Before we wrap up, we could keep talking forever,
right?
But for families listening who may be considering in-home care, what's the best first step, for them to learn more or get started?
Sure. If they want to call, I always tell people talk is free. You can call me, ask me questions. I love it. But that number is 210-810-3535, or go to our website.
Okay.
It is Senior Helpers Greater San Antonio, and it'll have all of our information.
Okay. Awesome. Jackie, thank you so much for coming on Growth Mode.
Thank
what
you
a
so
great
much.
Conversation.
Well, thank you. I was so excited when you reached out.
Awesome. We covered so much, from how families can recognize when is the right time to seek help, to the differences between in-home care and other options, and most importantly, how having the right support system in place can truly make a difference, not just for the patient, but for the entire family. And I think what really stood out is that this isn't just about care. It's about compassion, dignity, and helping people maintain their quality of life. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation that's designed to help you grow. And if you're a business owner or a marketing leader looking to elevate your brand, whether through digital strategy, storytelling, or even launching your own podcast, I'd love to help. We offer a special Get Found, Get Heard package that combines organic SEO with targeted radio to help build trust, drive traffic, and generate real results. Well, take a look at where you are and where you want to go. It's no pressure, just real solutions tailored to your goals. And you can call me anytime at 210-526-3626, or you can email me at growthmode@salemsurround.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay in growth mode.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Mode podcast with Nina Labbe. Stay connected, keep learning, and keep growing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time on Growth Mode.
Want to grow your business online and on the air? Right now, when you sign up for a 6-month organic SEO campaign at $3,100 a month, we'll include a free radio schedule, 1 week per month for 6 months to help kickstart your visibility. That's a $5,000 value in radio advertising, designed to drive awareness and leads from day one. Don't miss it. Email Nina Labbe at growthmode@salemsurround.com or call 210-526-3626 to learn more.